So I have some updated information because I just wrote a book that will come out on December 16th called Age Like a Girl. And I really want to spend some time today explaining the neurological changes that are happening to women as they go through menopause and why it is the best thing that ever happened to us, this menopause thing. So a little bit of a background on me. I was in practice for 30 years. I had a family practice down in San Jose, and I started to see a trend of women coming into my clinic that would walk in the door and they would say, they'd list off like 5 different symptoms that wouldn't go away. They would talk about how amazing their life was. They're like, my husband's amazing, my kids are amazing, but I can't sleep, I'm gaining weight, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, and I'm sweating all the time. That became, about 10 years ago, this common theme in all these women that came into my clinic. So I started to dive in to try to understand what was happening in the 40s to women as hormones were shifting. I also happened to be going through my own menopause experience, having my own sort of understanding of, am I going to have to go on HRT? Shouldn't I go on HRT? What is HRT? Is it safe? And then I came up with a statistic that motivated the hell out of me. And it was that between 45 and 55 is the most common time for a woman to commit suicide. Let that sink in for a moment. This is not a teenager that just didn't figure life out yet. This is a mom, this is a grandma, this is a community leader. What is making these women kill themselves? That was the first statistic I found. The second statistic I found was that 70% of divorces that happen after 50 are initiated by women. And I'm not trying to keep everybody married, but I want to say for the men in the group, your ears should be perking up. Because with those two pieces together, what I started to see was there was this massive change, neurological change that was happening, not just to me, not just to my patients, but happening to so many women. Now, at the time, I was teaching fasting and eating and exercise. I was teaching cycling women how to look at their menstrual cycle and apply their lifestyle. I wrote a little book called Fast Like a Girl. Anybody read it? I'm very proud of that book. She has gone out into the world and been in over 1 million people's hands, which is just really beautiful. And I think is really a testament to how thirsty women are for this kind of knowledge. But it was the postmenopausal woman that came to me through messages, through interviews, over and over and over again saying, what about us? We keep getting forgotten in the health conversation. So for about the last 3 years, I've been trying to answer the question of what's the purpose of menopause? There is nothing the body does by mistake. Why would it shut down a whole organ system and then leave us alive for 40% of our life? It must be preparing us for something. We are the longest living species on the planet. We live the longest post-reproductive compared to any other species on the planet. So I wanted to answer that question. I also, as I was out educating the world on hormones and lifestyle, this was as little as 5 years ago, we weren't talking about menopause. And a lot of you, by the way, if you went through menopause when nobody was talking about it, you deserve a crown because you suffered in silence and you weren't allowed to express what you were going through. And those of us that have either gone through it or in the process of going through it are trying to change that. And so in just the last 3 to 5 years, we've gone from this place of oh God, don't say menopause. That's what happens to older people, and they get really hot and irritable and gain weight, and we don't want to talk to them. That is what it used to be like. to what I now call cultural chaos, where women go to their news feed on Instagram and they're like, okay, wait, I'm supposed to eat more protein. Okay, wait, I'm also supposed to lift more weights. Oh, wait, I'm also supposed to get off blue light at night so I can sleep. And then I got to get off alcohol. And I'm supposed to make sure that my room environment is completely clean. And we've gone into this place where women are just like, enough already. Anybody feel that way? I mean, I have a team of people that look at, we have millions of comments that pour onto my socials every single month. And I have a team of people that bring me all those comments. And I cannot tell you that enough that women are in a state of confusion. So I decided to dive in to really understanding this from a brain perspective. What is going on? Why are we forgetful? Why do we have the brain fog? Why are we depressed? What's going on with the anxiety? And I wanted to look at this from a big lens. Okay, first thing, the evolutionary explanation. And the best way I can explain this is by telling you what happened to the menopausal women in the primal days, our hunter and gatherer days. We have examples. Kristen Hawkes, who's the big champion of this, she actually went and lived with the Tanzania tribe, the Hadza tribe in Tanzania, and observed these grandmothers. And I just want to point out, you don't have to be a grandmother. You just have to be a postmenopausal woman to be a part of this purpose-driven experience. So that was a tricky thing when I wrote the book. I understand not everybody's grandmothers. But what this hypothesis says is that what happened in the primal days when a woman stopped her period is she got moved to a different position in the clan. She got moved to a position of leadership. Because what happened in the hunter-gatherer life is that there was two ways they got food. One is through a big animal kill, and one is by foraging for plants and tubers around the tribe and the cave. We'll just call it the cave. And so what was happening on a regular basis is that the men and the strong women, I've also seen some interesting things that a few of the grandmothers, went out for the big animal kill, and they were gone for weeks. And when they came back, they only came back with food 3% of the time. So most of the time they failed. They didn't come back with a big animal kill except 3% of the time. Meanwhile, you have all the fertile women who are birthing babies, they were nursing babies, they were caring for little toddlers. They needed food. So who went and found them food? The grandmothers. So the grandmothers would gather every morning together in collaboration, and they would go and walk 7 hours every single day to go, in a fasted state, by the way, to go and find food. Then when they found food, most of the food was tubers. So they didn't have hip replacements. They had to bend down and get their hands in the ground and bring these tubers up. And then they would take the tubers back to the cave, and they would start peeling them, cutting them, and they would tell stories. This part's important. They would share knowledge, tell stories to the little kids as they were making foods. Meanwhile, days would go by without the men coming back with a big animal kill. And they believe, Kristen Hawkes, Lisa Mosconi, many experts believe that we would not be sitting here right now as humans if the grandmothers hadn't foraged for food. So in my book, that makes us an evolutionary heroine. The fact that we are all here is because of the postmenopausal woman. Right? Thank you. Thank you. I feel like we all need crowns. The other thing that they believe is because the grandmother would share knowledge to the kids, that the brains of these kids grew, and they believed that our expression of language that came out of those days and the growth of the brain, one of the contributing factors was because the grandmothers told stories to the little kids, which helped form new neuronal pathways and grew these little kids' brains. So, great. We know this. We are in a modern world. But this was the evolutionary explanation for menopause, is the tribe was like, we need you now. Go find food, because we're kind of sucking at this big animal kill thing. So we're going to come over here. We need you to go find food for us. The actual hypothesis says that we get 3 things returned back to us when we go into this state. Our fitness improves. Anybody postmenopausally feel that? Your fitness is supposed to improve because you got to go hunt for food every day. Your cognition improves on the other side, and your social, the way you collaborate with other women, it really comes together instead of competing, because we don't care what's going on with the seed of the man who went off and found some. We don't give a shit about that anymore. We need to go find food. So we got to collaborate with each other and go and get food. This is not the message that we're giving women right now. We are not being like, oh, thank you for saving the species. You're postmenopausal now. That's not what's being discussed. And we're going to change that. Guess what? Age Like a Girl, my new book. It's ready for pre-orders. And this is the most personal book I have ever written. And I'm so excited to bring it to you. If you are looking to reinvent yourself through the menopause process, or maybe you're on the other side and you're still looking for that reinvention, I'm gonna show you exactly why menopause works in your favor and how you can make it your greatest moment yet. Age Like a Girl. Okay, second thing is what Lisa Mosconi taught us, which is all of a sudden, instead of having this relational brain, where every time I do something, I got to take your opinion into consideration. Anybody married to a menopausal woman that's brave enough to say, yeah, all of a sudden she seems like she didn't want my opinion anymore? Yes, thank you, one brave man. She wasn't designed to ask your opinion anymore. She doesn't care. She was drugged on estrogen, and now she's not drugged on estrogen anymore. So she can use her own brain to think. So estrogen, we have a bigger corpus callosum. It connects the right and left hemisphere, and estrogen activated it. And then when estrogen goes away, that connection between right and left operates very differently, and we go more into a lateralized brain. I call it the brain remodel project. We're in process of our brain changing. It's remodeling, it's messy, but then we're gonna go somewhere where it's bright and shiny and we can really stand in a place of purpose in the culture. That's what we're designed to do. The estrogens girl gang. Let's see if I put it up here. There are 12 neurochemicals. Well, they're not all neurochemicals, but for the sake of this conversation, we're just going to call them that. 12 neurochemicals that estrogen stimulated. So just think about this for a moment. When estrogen left, all of a sudden acetylcholine, which is our memory neurotransmitter, goes. Glutamate, which is our excitatory neurotransmitter, all of a sudden gets amplified. BDNF, which is our ability to hold on to new information, it's gone. Dopamine, which is our motivation and our desire to go do something, she left the building. Serotonin, who told us everything was going to be okay and we were fine and we're doing a good job, she's out. Oxytocin, the thing that made us want to connect to you, gone. GABA, the thing that calmed us, she's gone. Melatonin, gone. Estrogen controlled our whole circadian rhythm. And all of a sudden, she's gone. You actually have estrogen receptor sites in the part of the brain that actually keeps the inner biological clock. So any menopausal women that wake up at 2 in the morning and they're like, I could run a marathon. Why the heck does my body think that it's like 10 in the morning? It's because that internal clock got so messed up with estrogen gone because your pineal gland doesn't know when to secrete melatonin. And then something that I wish I had known in practice, which is she stimulated collagen and creatine, which is why that if you're dealing with women who are in this age group that have pain and those injuries are not going away, it's because she doesn't have as much collagen, you can't just see it on her face, you see it in the joints, and she doesn't have as much creatine, and that's what supports brain function and supports muscle function. So this is really important. I know we all have different ways we practice chiropractic, but this is massively important because what I'm going to show you here in a moment is how we can use lifestyle to bring this back. This is not hard. The grandmothers in the hunter-gatherer days didn't have phones. They weren't wearing Oura rings to tell them what kind of sleep they got. They weren't counting calories. They didn't have a scale. They used their lifestyle to bring these things back. So when a woman comes in and she says, I'm so sorry I missed my appointment, I totally forgot what time it is, your brain should be like, oh, okay, acetylcholine, she's low in acetylcholine, how can we help bring that back? Or the woman, like the women in my practice that came in and they're like, I don't know, on paper my life looks good, but I'm so depressed. Oh, she lost dopamine. Or the couple, the family that you're working with, and all of a sudden they start to feel less connected. They've maybe been married for 25, 30 years, and all of a sudden there becomes this disconnect. Yeah, because she doesn't have as much oxytocin. We got to find new ways to bring oxytocin back. So the part of the conversation that's not being had on menopause is that it's not just a loss of estrogen and progesterone and maybe testosterone. It's all of this. And we can bring this all back through lifestyle. Yes, yeah, you go ahead. I mean, it's I'm a 55-year-old woman, and what I use every day, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a little blue. I got to go get some dopamine. What can I do? I'm feeling really disconnected. I need to figure out how to go get oxytocin because I know these neurochemicals now, and I know the power of my lifestyle, and I know that these neurochemicals are inside of me. I don't need an exogenous thing to take to make it. I can make it myself, right? And this is what you can do once you understand this and what you can guide these women into doing as they're sitting on your table crying. You can start to educate them. I'm sorry, it wasn't just estrogen that left. You have 12 neurochemicals. Let's talk about how we bring these neurochemicals back. That is really my deep passion that I'm hoping you all will take back to your table talk. So we already know Carol Gilligan. I really want to say that a lot of women, one of my favorite things that I heard this summer, and I freaked out, and like at 11 o'clock at night, messaged my agent who was on the East Coast. I'm like, oh my God, did you see this in the New York Times? And this is not a political statement, but Michelle Obama, anybody heard her on Work in Progress? She got so much flack because she didn't go to Jimmy Carter's memorial and she didn't go to some inaugural events, and everybody thought she was leaving Barack. So she goes on this podcast called Work in Progress. You can go listen to it. And she's like, I'm a 61-year-old woman. I'm a grown-ass woman is literally what she said. I've given my whole life over as First Lady. I am finally doing what I want to do. And when I look at my schedule, I will fill it up with what I want first. Anybody else had that experience? There's the grandmother hypothesis. That's what she's standing in a position of power where she's giving back to herself and she's leading as example. She went on to actually say that one of the reasons that she was standing in this new place of independence and power and she was not leaving Barack was that she wanted to model that for her girls. Yeah, I mean, that's the purpose of the grandmother hypothesis. So we have example after example. You have Pamela Anderson that's like, I don't really want to put makeup on anymore. I'm done, y'all. So we have Jane Fonda that's like, really, the only person I want to hang out with is my girlfriends. I'm tired of trying to find connection in my marriages. You have story after story after story. Once you start to see the pattern, you start to see all these women that are standing into these new identities. And that is the purpose of menopause, is to stand into this new identity. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, Women Who Run with the Wolves, wrote a book called The Power of the Crone. Really good book. Crone means crown, by the way. So the first time somebody told me to read that book, I was like, fuck you. I am not a crone. And then they were like, Mindy, did you not know it meant a crown? I was like, oh wait, yeah, I want a crown. So she believes in something called the life cycle, meaning you had a life when estrogen was around. You shed things you no longer want to carry with you. You shed identities. You shed people-pleasing. You shed wrapping yourself up to make yourself beautiful so that you feel worthy. There is so much shedding going on when this neurochemical switch happens in your body. And you're meant to be reborn into a new life. Sounds like the grandmother hypothesis? Sounds like Lisa Mosconi's brain remodeling? And now we have a mystic. And then again, I couldn't get to Carol to ask Carol what she thought of menopause, but I can tell you, if society told us to do it one way when estrogen came in, we really want to do it different when estrogen goes out, because we were designed. I thought about this the other day. I was like, teenagers, when they go into puberty, we all go walk around and we're like, oh yeah, they're changing. That's teenagers. They're supposed to be a little cranky. They're supposed to be that way. And we give cultural grace to teenagers. But we don't do the same with menopausal women. We don't say, oh my God, my wife, it's so amazing. She no longer wants to hang out with me. She doesn't make me dinner anymore. It's really cool to watch. You know what she's doing? She's becoming a new version of herself. How cool is that? Anybody had that dinner conversation? But it's an identity change. It's a transformation. That's what's supposed to happen. And we're supposed to not be the same. I'm 55. I'm not supposed to be the same at 45. I'm supposed to be different. That is my evolutionary explanation. That is neuroscience. That is what's going on here. So if I look different, if I act different, it's because I'm supposed to be different. I don't want you to waste money on supplements. Your body's a miracle. Buy the right ones. Sometimes you don't buy them at all. Check out this video so you don't waste money on your supplement. When we do the same probiotic over and over and over again, what we're doing is we're creating a monoculture in our gut.